Hello, everyone. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to remind you that my book, Drummers on Drumming, is available now on Amazon as both a paperback and an ebook. Based on the Big Fat Five segment of this podcast, where I sit down with my favorite drummers to discuss the 5 records and stories that shaped their approach to the instrument, this book is packed with insights from the drummers who redefined how we think about the modern drum set. You can grab your copy now by checking the link in this episode's show notes or simply searching Drummers on Drumming on Amazon. So thank you for all the support, and now let's get into the show.
Hey, I'm David Raouf, and I'm Ben's guest on Big Fat Five.
What is up? Welcome back to Big Fat Five, a podcast financially supported by Big Fat Snare Drum. This week's guest is the bearded bandit of hours of my time thanks to his infectiously entertaining YouTube channel, Mr. David Raouf, aka rdavidr. I've been watching his videos for years, and they're chock full of drum tips, tricks, hacks, and DIY projects. He even made one about a DIY version of a certain company that supports this podcast, but he ultimately came around and recommended snagging the official version, so water under the bridge. While he does showcase his playing a lot in the videos, he doesn't really talk about his playing, so I wanted to chat about just that, because he's a solid player. If you haven't yet, go check out his YouTube videos. He's hilarious, and I just love his channel. The dude knows his way around a garage, and his beard gives mine a run for its money. Anyway, here are the 5-ish records that shaped David's style behind the kit and beyond.
Pretty cool. So now let's hear it with some music.
I do want to start off by saying a lot of your videos reference other videos that you're kind of like working on. So how many videos are you actively doing at one time?
Oh, man. I used to like really be on the grind and like, oh, I got time to start this other one. And, another thing too was like, if I had an idea, I was like right on it, because if I didn't jump on it, I'll just forget about it or lose, motivation to do it or interest in it.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of gotten to the point where I have just too much going on, and like at the most I'll do like 2 or 3 videos at a time, but it's not like, okay, let me film this for 5 hours and then this other one for 5 hours. It's like I'll work on one for a day and like, oh, let me do this for a little bit, and it's like very off and on, so it's not like mentally straining, I guess.
Yeah, because a lot of your videos, it's like, I have to let this sit for 24 hours or blah, blah, blah. So it's, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you consider yourself, I'm kind of looking behind you. Do you consider yourself an organized person?
No, not at all.
It's crazy.
It
looks like you are.
I try to be, but like when I'm like working, no, not at all. But I would say like my studio and my workshop, I try to keep organized because obviously I'm in there the most. But if I'm like balls deep in a project, it's like it's chaos. It's hell in there.
Yeah. Well, I'm not good at segues. So, and I heard you on the Drumeo Gab talk about it, that you used to have a speech impediment, and I bring it up because I used to have one as well. So what was yours again?
It was saying R's, especially like ORL words like world, or I'm trying to think of another example, but like anything with R. So like my last name is Raouf. So like
you're screwed.
I couldn't even say my last name.
Yeah.
It was bad. But I went to like, speech classes as in like elementary school. And like there's still some words I struggle with, but for the most part it's all right, I guess.
Yeah, I was with ours too. And my dog's name was Murphy growing up, and so
Yeah.
I called him Mophie. And even when I got better at speaking, he would only respond to me when I said Mophie. It was weird. He would only wag his tail. But yeah, my speech impediment, or my speech doctor, whatever you say, his name was Mr. Nitschke. And it was like the hardest thing to say if you have a speech impediment.
Yeah.
I'm like, just like call yourself Mr. N or something. But
Yeah.
he would like call us out. And every Thursday I'd like, hey, Ben, I had to walk across the whole class because they knew I couldn't say my R's. It was quite, and I always like, I mean, I think I speak well enough now, but I always tell people, like, if you ever feel super amazing about who you are as a person, record yourself like you do always as well. Like you overdub a lot. It's like, that'll bring you right back down to earth.
Oh, it can be bad sometimes. Like I just did a voiceover the other day. I'm like, okay, let me just type it out and do it. And like also take 5 minutes, but then it takes like 30 minutes. And then you listen, it's like, let me actually just do it again. And I'm never happy whenever I do voiceovers.
100%. Yeah, I would say the most time-consuming part of this freaking podcast is the intros. Because I'm like, okay, you're too excited, Ben. Calm down. Or like, hey, you stutter on this. Because stuttering was also a big thing for me too. But so when it comes to the process of like the background beats and stuff, what percentage of it is stuff that you make versus stuff that you find kind of on stock libraries?
Yeah. So I guess in the beginning phases, it was all me, all stuff that I made. And I was super proud about like, yeah, these videos are like 100% me. Like I film everything, I edit everything. It's all my music. You know, it's me drumming, it's me presenting everything, obviously. But see another thing too, and we can talk about more about this later. But I kind of started like production and beat making around the same time that I started my YouTube channel. So they kind of like blended well together, and I kind of had a purpose for the beats. Like, oh, well, you know, I'm not really selling them. I can put out like a beat tape that no one's going to listen to, but I can at least use them in these videos. And then kind of the YouTube thing kind of took off, and I kind of lost time. You know, I didn't really have the time to make beats, even though I still miss it to this day. But I haven't made a beat in like, I don't know, like 4 years probably. So now all the stuff,
oh, wow.
It's bad. But and it's sad too, because like I have my MIDI keyboard and my like record player all like set up right here, like if I wanted to, but I just don't. But all the stuff now, I have there's this website, and I have like a thing with them. So it's cool too, because I use it all for the background music, and then also I can download all the stems and remove the drums, and then use those for like the play-alongs, basically, and it's all royalty free. So,
no, it's crazy. One of the cool things about following you, because I've watched your videos for years, it's like the progression of your audio engineering has become. I mean, like your drums. I mean, the Earthworks mics are amazing as well, but like you're just the sounds you have captured. It's fun to see that arc, not arc, because that implies that it then goes down the other side. It's just an upwards trajectory. yeah, well, you really screwed up the last 3 months. But,
right.
No.
Well, in the beginning, like I didn't like mix at all. I was like, all right, I'm gonna just EQ these a little bit, like pan the toms and the overheads, and then I like, you know, I should probably like figure out how to mix and like at least, you know, make it sound halfway decent. And for a minute, like I was like really into mixing, and then again, it got to the point where it's like, you know, I can mix this stuff, but is this taking too long? Let me just hire someone to do it. So honestly, the reason you probably saw a big jump at some point, and that's because I hired someone to start mixing.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. So if it does go back down, it's because I fired him and I started to mix it.
If the arc happens, then it's all David.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself a funny guy?
You know, yes and no, but mainly no, because I have such like a dry sense of humor, and like, you know, dad jokes are like funny to me, and it's like very like nuanced, I guess, and like you don't really like understand my sense of humor until you like either watch all my videos or like hang out with me, because I feel like I'll say like the funniest thing, and like I won't laugh, but everyone else starts laughing, you know. So I don't know, it's hard to explain, but no, I wouldn't consider myself like super funny, to be honest.
Well, it's just because your videos, I mean, you described it well. They don't necessarily have. It's not like you're trying to get a yuck, but they have this kind of overarching theme of like levity behind them, if that makes sense. And it's that. I just wanted to compliment you as well. I was trying to say, not to put you on the spot. Like, do you think you're funny? Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into your top 5. And so, also going back to your videos, I mean, you've also seen you progress as a player. I mean, not that you were ever
definitely
bad, but I mean, and what I like about your videos too is you don't you don't do like, hey, here's me working on this snare drum, and then you just blast chops, and you're like, okay, this is really why he's doing the YouTube channel. You actually just like play drums that are just, you hold it down, and it's solid. It's fun to listen to, and you actually showcase the drums, which is, you're very cognizant of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't really seen you talk about yourself as a drummer that much in your videos. So that's kind of why I wanted to have you on to talk about this.
For sure. And before we start, actually,
Yeah.
I always joke saying that, like, you know, people's like, oh, I want to start a YouTube channel, but like, I suck at drums. I'm like, look at me, like, I suck at drums, and my channel's doing fine, so go for it.
Well, I wouldn't agree with you in that, but I do know what you mean. That's the reason why I don't do a lot of things. But all right, so number one, and maybe this is what I assumed one of your first picks would be, but
I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
I don't know either. But I love Iron Maiden. So the album is Power Slave by Iron Maiden, came out in 1984, and your song choice was the titular track, Power Slave.
Yep.
It's Nico on drums. So let me just play a little bit of it, and you can talk through it, and then we can continue after the song's done.
Yeah.
I don't think I know this song, by the way.
All right.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Into the abyss I fall, the eye of horrors. Into the eyes of the night, watching me go. Green is the cat's eye that glows in this temple. Enter the risen Osiris, risen again.
The fills in like these sections are what really like made me love this song.
Sure.
Tell me why I have to be a power slave. I don't wanna die, I'm a god, why can't I live on? When the life giver dies, all around is laid waste. I'll end my last hour, I'm a slave to the power of death.
That's basically the whole song. So
Yeah. All right. So where were you when you heard that? Like, what impact did that have on your life?
Man, so not to like get too deep into it, but so I
Please
started
do.
playing. I started playing drums. I was in middle school, and I had a friend that started playing guitar around the same time, and he was like all into like Jimi Hendrix and like classic rock and everything. And you know, his dad had all these classic rock CDs, so we would like, you know, go through them and listen to them, and like burn our own CDs. And I remember I found this like Black Sabbath album. I was like, oh wow, this is like heavier. I like this a lot more than like the, you know, Boston and you know, other classic rock stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got into like very surface level, like metal, like Metallica, obviously. But I remember I was watching TV and saw a VH1 commercial, and it had the track "Run to the Hills" by Iron Maiden on it. And again, like the giant like 16-note descending tom fills on like 18 different toms. I heard that, I was like, oh my god, this is like insane. So
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta find this CD and like listen to the whole song, because this is like right before the, you know, iTunes thing popped off. So I went to like a CD store or music store trying to find this Iron Maiden CD, but they didn't have it. So I found the Power Slave album, which again, me in middle school seeing this, like the album covers like them in Egypt with like the pyramids and the Sphinx and everything, and all those like hieroglyphs on the back. I'm like, yo, this is awesome. Like this is gonna be the best CD ever. And
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Jesus.
right. And I mean,
Very subtle.
the Iron Maiden's like sound is so like, so it matches their image like so well, which is probably why I was so drawn to that album. But when I first heard Power Slave, immediately I felt like I was like in Egypt, like building a pyramid. And and again, just like the big open, like the drum fill into it, and again, just like he has like 20 different toms, and it's all like simple stuff, you know, fills and like playing really, but it fits the music and it's super catchy. And again, I just wanted to be like a cool metalhead and have like 20 toms.
And so now, yeah, most of the kits you play are just one up, one down, maybe two down. Is that just because it's just too, you don't have enough space? Or do you secretly want to always play like that?
Well, it's funny because I had this one kit. It was a 4-piece, and then it had these like weird sizes, and I started to buy like extra drums for it that were smaller and they were more, my sound, I guess. And again, it's still like middle schoolish era, and I remember like, sweet, I have like all these toms now, and I set up this like, I guess it was like a 7-piece, like 3 up, 2 down, and I hated it. I was like, this is stupid. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, these are too many drums, and I didn't know how to set up a drum set back then, so the angles are probably all jacked up anyways.
Well, then you have to have your hi-hat too far to the left, and it's awkward. Yeah.
But no, the main reason I guess I play a 4-piece, first of all, I feel like I don't really need extra toms, but just the ride cymbal placement, like where the second rack tom would be, is like I'm so used to the ride being there, so it's like it's just what I do now, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's one time randomly I was bored at a show and I put like my 2 crash cymbals, kind of like I guess the guy from Simple Plan. He had 2 crash cymbals, kind of like where like Trey Cool has them, and then he's still, I guess it'd be more like Trey Cool too, up there, and then he has his ride cymbal still where you would have it if you had 2 toms, and it was like one of the worst shows I've ever had. Yeah. Every fill felt weird, even though the drums didn't move at all. But I know what you mean. Yeah.
But no, I still like. I think the biggest kit I've had set up in here is like a 7-piece, 7-piece, 3 up, 2 down, snare kick. And like it was like 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 or something. So, the smaller sizes make more sense, of course, when you have bigger drums, I guess, or a bigger drum set. And I feel like now I can hang on a 7-piece, but it's not like every day I need one. So yeah. I don't really bother setting one up, or I don't even own a 7-piece. So,
well, I thought about it like metal bands. I'll just say metal bands generically. Sorry, but it's like, how did they tour clubs? At what point did the drummer just be like, I hate the fact that I have this many drums, and like it's like they have to just start at like bigger clubs or arenas. Like could Slipknot, did they do like, I don't know, Kilby Court in Salt Lake City? Like, do they ever do that, or do they just start at the arena? I have no idea, but
that is a good question. I've never even thought about that.
It's like they had this, yeah. All right, well, let's move on to number 2.
Cool.
Very, very nice little detour. So this is good. It's is it pronounced Steve Reich? I'm so bad.
Honestly, I think I've always said Steve Reich, but I could be wrong. And you talked about the last track was 7 minutes. This one's like 20 minutes. So,
all right. Well, so the album's just called Drumming, by Steve Reich, and it came out in 1970.
So, and see, I don't know if I would consider this like an album. It's more of like a piece of music.
Okay.
So it's all like one continuous thing.
Okay.
If you want to play like the first bit of part 1 and then skip forward, you'll get the idea, I guess.
Sounds like a cool room.
Right?
Or a cool plugin. This is cool.
Yeah, so 40 minutes of this.
Yeah. Wow, thanks, Dave. I at least want to hear where this goes.
So what, it's been like less than a minute and it's doing this much, so just imagine the future. I should mention, these are all bongos, actually.
bongos.
Yeah.
Is it just him, or is there more than one drummer?
There are 6 players. I think at this point, like 3 or 4 of them are playing. They all like gradually come in.
That last one's like, why'd we invite him?
Right?
That's Michelangelo right there. So yeah, I mean, what about this record really? Why did it make it into your top 5?
Yeah. See, I was like debating, like, should I add this one? Because, like, as far as like a drum set standpoint, it doesn't really like. I mean, it does. You know, it has influenced my drum set playing in a way. But I guess I went through like a phase or a chapter where I was like super into like playing marimba and like percussion and everything. And like, you know, if my like plans worked out, you know, school wise and with college and everything, I probably would have been doing that instead of what I'm doing now.
Interesting.
Yeah, right. I never really talk about that. So, but yeah, like, so with that, actually, when I started playing drum set, I studied with a guy named Scott Clark, coolest dude you'll ever meet. Like, he'll say like 3 words to you, and you'll be like, "Damn, the guy's like really cool." And
Gotta love that guy.
Yeah, and just like the calmest dude, chillest dude, and like, so picture me like in middle school wanting to play Iron Maiden and Metallica
With a full beard.
Yeah, exactly. And then Scott, who was this like straight up like jazz dude, right? And so every so often I'd walk into a lesson, sit down, and he'd like put a CD in and be like, "Listen to this," and just tell me what you think. So we'd sit there for 2 or 3 minutes listening, and you'd be like, "All right, what do you think of that?" And most of the time it's just like this weird shit that just like was way over my head. I had no idea what was going on. Like one time he played something, it was like this weird like avant-garde, minimalist, freeform noise jazz or something. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And he's like, "Oh, well, what do you think of that?" I'm like, "I don't know, it sounded like noise, I guess." He's like, "Oh, well, that was my band." I was like, "Oh, sorry about that."
Anyways. Yeah.
But one day he played this. I was like, "Oh, this is actually kind of cool." And then again, we skipped ahead a little bit, and I was like, "Okay, this is weird. Like, I don't like this anymore." And again, he's like, "What do you think of that?" I was like, "Oh, it sounds like you threw like a bongo factory like down an elevator shaft." And again, like, it was just over my head. Like, I couldn't like appreciate that type of music. Mm-hmm. But if we fast forward to, I guess I was in high school, my sophomore year, they offered a music theory class, so I took that, and it was very basic elementary theory. But I'll skip through like in the book just to like look at stuff. And there's a chapter on like minimalism and minimalist music, and there's a chapter or page on Steve Reich, and I was like, "Where have I heard this name before? This sounds familiar." So I go online, Google it, and start, watching and listening to all the stuff, and then drumming pops up. I'm like, "Oh shit, this is what Scott played me," and like all of a sudden, my brain had matured. I wasn't like a smooth brain musician anymore, and I could like appreciate and like understand this music a bit more. And as far as like classical music and all that, I never was like into it. So like learning about like chord structures and this and that was just like, I don't care. But like hearing this, I just like meshed with my brain, so like re-energized my like passion for like percussion and drumming, I guess.
Mm-hmm. What made you decide to not do it ultimately?
I guess it was mainly, so in high school, like I sucked at like everything, like as far as like like all my classes, like I couldn't do math.
Self-talk, yeah, no.
I don't know. I didn't like have the grades really to like go into like the schools I wanted to, and also I was like very like, I don't want to say scared, but very like, you talk to anyone like, "Oh, you're gonna go to school for like music performance. Like, what are you gonna do with that? You should do this and get a job with that." So again, in high school, like what do I do? And you start freaking out. And eventually I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm not going to pursue like a music school or, anything with music at a higher education, and I'll just do something else, which like, looking back, it's like, why did I do that? But I'm here now. So
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, those when you're younger, that outside influence makes a big difference, and it sucks. But yeah, I can relate. Yeah,
and like honestly too, like I guess my mom's sisters, so my aunt, like their family is very musical, but other than that, like no one else is musical. And I guess I was the first one to like go into college, that played music. So, the family wasn't, I mean, they were supportive obviously, but like, again, it was like, are you sure you want to do that? So,
I mean, do you still own any marimbas, or do you ever tickle that every once in a while?
I do. It's at my mom's house, so I need to get it at some point. And then I actually bought a set of vibes, and I was like, sweet, I have a set of vibes. They're smaller. I can like keep them in my house. And a friend was like, hey man, can I rent those vibes from you? I'm like, sure. So now they're at his house. I'm like, all right, well, so much for that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, that's cool. I definitely think that that's the kind of record that I should probably start and just listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. Like just lay down in bed, like going to sleep, just put it on, and like it's crazy.
And apparently it looks like he recorded it 1 million times. So I chose the one that he recorded somewhat recently, but I'm assuming it's just a bunch of motifs, and then each time he records it, it's a little different. So, but cool. All right. Well, let's go on to number 3. This is Nas, and it's Illmatic from 1994, a New York State of Mind. And the drummer on this was produced by DJ Premier, who sampled Kool and the Gang, so technically George Brown.
Yeah, I had to Google that, but
yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, we had people come in, they're like A Tribe Called Quest, and we're like, I don't know who the drummer was, Q-Tip, I guess, but cool. All right, so New York State of Mind. Let's just go ahead and play that.
Yeah. Yo, Black, it's time.
I have no idea who George Brown is, by the way.
I didn't either, so.
Yeah, straight out the fucking dungeons of rap, where fake niggas don't make it back. I don't know how to start this. Rappers are monkey flipping with the funky rhythm I be kicking. Musician, inflicting composition of pain. I'm like Scarface, sniffing cocaine, holding an M16. See with the pen I'm extreme. Now, bullet holes left in my peak holes. I'm suited up with street clothes. Hand me a 9 and out the beat foes. Y'all know my stilo, with or without the airplay. I keep some E and J, sitting bent up in the stairway, or either on the corner betting grants with the CeeLo champs, laughing at bass heads, trying to sell some broken amps. G-Packs get off quick forever. Niggas talk shit, reminiscing.
We talk about minimalism,
right? I want to say Joe Chambers, who the piano sample, he's like a minimalist musician. I think. I could be wrong, but yeah.
Oh, so that's something that people like claim to be. I'm a minimalist musician.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's like a whole like genre. I want to say genre, but yeah, definitely.
Another squeeze, heard it click. Yo, my shit is stuck. Tried to cock it, it wouldn't shoot. Now I'm in danger. Finally pulled it back and saw 3 bullets caught up in the chamber. So now I'm jetting to the building lobby, and it was full of children. Probably couldn't see as high as I be. It's like the game ain't the same. I'm
assuming that beat just kind of keeps going through the whole song.
Yep.
And I didn't mean that in a bad way. I mean, I'm assuming it continues to be amazing, is what I should say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess to go back to the other one, so minimalism is an actual genre. I thought that was just like an approach, but okay.
Yeah, I guess technically it's a genre, but I mean, there's like minimalist composers, like Steve Reich obviously would be one. Philip Glass, John Cage, John Adams. There's a billion of them. Brian Eno. But I mean, you heard with like the Steve Reich piece. It's a lot of like looping and I guess like simple rhythms that just like repeat forever and ever, but like eventually they change kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong, but the sample from New York State of Mind, I think that it was Joe Chambers, is some piano guy, and he might be a minimalist composer. I could be wrong on that, but maybe. So
yeah.
Which I didn't even like realize that correlation, but again, I could be wrong.
So I'm assuming you used stuff like this when you were starting to make beats. I mean, these were huge influences on you from that perspective.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, so I had another friend that, he always had new music and different music, we'd be we'd go to like Burger King, he'd be playing something one day, and then the next day something completely different, right? And he played this one day. I was like, yo, like, what is this? Because again, like, I graduated high school in 2010, so rap then was like Eminem, 50 Cent, you know, Waka Flocka, Lil Wayne, all that. So to hear this was like just like the starkest contrast ever. I was like, this is a thing, like, people make, you know, rap like this, like, what? And I guess mainly it was mainly the beats that I was drawn to, because it's like actual drums, actual instruments, and I guess, you know, thinking about it now, like the minimalist like looping of like, you know, basically they tell you the best part of the record and like loop it forever and ever. So I guess I was drawn to that too. But yeah, basically like that album, and then of course other, you know, hip hop albums from like the 90s really played like a huge part in my life. And like, again, I was so influenced by them that like I started to make my own beats, and I would like go to record stores and, you know, get a stack of vinyl and bring it home and listen through it, and then like sample stuff and like make my own beats. So yeah.
Yeah, how can you talk about that a little bit? What is your process of making beats?
Yeah, so in my peak beat making days, you know, I'd wake up, go to a record store or thrift store or flea market, anywhere you could find vinyl, find a stack that I thought looked cool, or like, oh, I know this musician from this other one, like, let me buy this, maybe there's something cool on there, and just like, and then, you know, get home, listen to it all, and if I found something cool, like just like an open sound, I'll like sample that and then just save it to a library. Same thing with drums. If I found open drums, whether it be like an actual like drum loop or break, I would sample that. I probably wouldn't use it, you know, right then and there, but I would have it, and again, just save it all on the computer. But as soon as I found like an actual sample, like actual like melody or bass line or anything that like spoke to me, I would sample that, you know, cut it up, you know, replay it, do whatever, loop it up. And then I'll go through, you know, the stash of drums that I, you know, sample from other records, and then find ones that work. Again, cut them up, chop them up, you know, replay them, add different kicks, change the patterns, this and that. And then usually, like, the bass line aspect of it, I'll, like, play it myself with my keyboard. And then from there, like, if it needed anything else, I would just play it, you know, through, like, MIDI. So it sounds, like, really simple, but honestly, like, it took forever for me to, like, figure out how to do all that.
When you're doing that, do you think of it in terms of structure, like there's a bridge and a chorus, or you just kind of like, I want to get 16 bars and that's the groove, and then I'll just take out elements and whatnot?
No, definitely. If most of the time, like I would think about it. So, and like if you listen to like any of my like beats, like they basically all have the same structure. But I'll do like an intro, I'll do like a verse, chorus, and then maybe like an outro. And if the sample like allowed for it, I'll do like a bridge or something. But yeah, like structure was like a huge part of, you know, making a beat, because eventually I was like, you know, I want people to like rap on this, and, you know, I want to sell beats and be a producer. So like that was important to me. But in some cases, with New York State of Mind, it's just like the same loop basically forever and ever, and like instruments fade in and out. But you know, if I could, I would, you know, structure it like actual song.
Do you sing at all?
No, not at all.
Not at all. Me neither.
Yeah.
I'm happy I don't, but sometimes I wish I could, because it's just like, that's like a full stop for me. I'm like, nope, I don't do that. So that's one thing I don't have to worry about.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's go on to number 4, and that is Cross Collateral. Came out in 1975. The artist is Passport, and Homo.
I don't know.
Homunculus. Homunculus. Oh God. I was almost saying homunculus, but that's not. There's not enough letters in that for it to be that.
That's what I thought it was too. I would just like glance. Oh yeah, homonucleosis. Yeah, that's it.
Exactly. All right. So this is from it's from Passport, and the drummer is Kurt Kress, and you were nice enough to admit that you had to Google it. I didn't.
Yep.
I don't know who this guy is too, which is the reason why I do this podcast. So, all right, well, let's look at homunculosis. It's all kind of funky names in this record.
Yeah, oh yeah. They're German, I think.
Drums sound cool.
Them toms, yep.
Damn.
There's a lot of China in this too.
Thank God.
Right?
Oh, nice. Damn, why do I not know who Kurt Kress is? He's killing it.
Right?
This is really cool. And by the way, I have it queued up on Google. It's going to tell us how to pronounce this name.
Sweet.
We'll listen to it in a second. It is cool when I can really hear this as an influence in a lot of your demonstration videos in a really cool way.
Yeah. Do you want to hear
Yeah,
how to pronounce this?
Let's see how this goes. All right, I think you'll be able to hear this. Let's see.
Okay.
Homunculus.
Homunculus?
Let's do it. You can do it slow too.
All right.
Homunculus.
Homunculus. Okay.
Homunculus.
But no, yeah, this is something I found in my digging phase, just going to a vinyl store and just finding random shit, which, by the way, like, if you ever trying to find like new music, just go to a record store, dig through the crates, find something that looks insane, the craziest album cover ever, and like you'll find some heat in there, like guaranteed. Sure. Which this is one of those things. I saw the cover. It's like this weird, like exploded, like not exploded, but like expanded like airplane with these dudes' eyes and glass. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
I'm like, what is this? This gotta be crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
So honestly, like that's how I bought most of my records. Like, oh, this looks cool. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned like, oh man, those drum sounds. Like, at this point I'd been like digging and like I've listened to like every record and like every genre, every decade, every cultural piece of music at this point, it seemed like. But like the drums on like that album just like blew my mind. I was like, wow, these sound like so good. Like, even though they're like just average drums, but again, I was just like blown away by them. And the reason I picked that one is mainly just like the influence of the sound, because it was at that point that I really like focused in on like, his drums sound good. I should probably make my drums like sound good, like physically, not just like from a feel standpoint, but from like actual sound standpoint.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to all your drums that you have, and maybe you've talked about this in the videos and I missed it, but what would you say is your go-to, just like this drum set just sounds the best?
As far as like my sound, I guess it's a Tama Imperial Star from like the 70s or 80s. At least the way I have it tuned right now, like it's super like dead and thuddy, but like full at the same time. I don't know how to describe it, but like it just records super well and like sounds good to me. But if I was like, I just need a drum set to play whatever, like I'll usually just pick that one, even though I should probably pick a different one. But
is that the one that's the natural finish? Is that the one you did the Led Zeppelin cover for, By the Creek?
No, that's Tama Superstar.
See, I know nothing about Tama.
No, see, the vintage stuff is like, I mean, it's there. Obviously, there's like a few different lines and everything, but like even for me, it's just like figuring all the stuff out. Because I'll do like you think like the Ludwig nerds are bad, but the Tama nerds are like the worst because there's different like size re-rings and like the different coatings, and like they change so much stuff throughout the years, and like everyone knows every single detail about everything, and like, oh, well, the serial number should be this on this drum. That's a different drum than it came with the kit. And I'm like, do I care? Like,
Yeah.
like, why do you know this? But yeah, I don't know. I've always kind of been drawn to like Tama drums, and then I kind of caught the vintage bug, and I kind of always wanted a Superstar, which I finally got one, and I really don't play it that much, which is kind of sad, but I played it outside by my creek, so that was fun.
How did you get? I mean, I guess you said you pawn off your mixing duties to someone else, but that weirdly sounded so good outside,
Dude, right? Like,
how the hell?
I got that mix back. I'm like, did you use samples or like what?
Yeah, what the hell, man? It's for a good cause too. The video he's talking about is for the C's, right?
Yeah, Team C's. Yep.
Team C's. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like for every $1 donated, a pound of trash was deleted from the ocean. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was freaking out about that too because I'm like, oh man, I don't even have like Logic on my laptop. Like, how am I gonna do this? So I borrowed my friend's laptop, and then I'm trying to think of the setup. I think I used my Earthworks overheads in like XY for the overheads actually.
Okay.
And then so that was running through Logic, and then I have a like Tascam field recorder thing. So I had that has 2 inputs that I put 57 on the snare and then a D6 in the kick, and then it has an XY pattern for like the built-in mics. So I kind of use that as like a crotch mic to like pick up the toms because I kind of like face the toms. So I was like,
Yeah.
hopefully this works. And I had to, and again, like I recorded on Logic on this laptop, and then I had the field recorder, so I had to like line things up. I'm like, oh, hopefully this works. And because I had like one day to film it, and I had to build a platform out back.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that too.
Yeah. And it's like down this like hill, so I'm like carrying all this stuff, I'm carrying my drums and my cymbals, and like this video better like do well, which it didn't, but it was fun. So
Which it didn't.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's I think maybe it's just because I've done so much stuff for Big Fat Snare Drum and whatnot, like behind the scenes stuff, that when I see stuff like that, all I see is like, oh, that was a day. That was a day.
Yeah. But honestly, like I love like that through and like that, like the behind the scenes stuff, like and making it seem like the biggest thing about like filming videos and stuff is doing it in a way that it looks effortless, even though you spend a billion hours on it. You know,
Yep.
For the viewer, it's like, oh wow, that was cool. But in reality, it took like 9 years to like get everything straight. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure, and you've set up your studio to where it's like there's good lighting throughout the whole thing, so that you can, like, you don't have to think about that as much anymore. At least it looks like in a lot of your videos, it's very well lit and stuff.
Yeah, it's almost like too well lit. Like lighting is the one thing that like I know the least about. I like know enough to get by. But yeah, it's everything's like well lit. And I try to make it as easy as possible. Like all the drums are like set up obviously, and like the mics are set up, so I just just go.
Yeah.
So I think, and that's what I try to do too. Or one thing I was like really like big into, especially at my old spot, was just like, okay, how can I make this as efficient as possible to make it as easy as possible, so that way you're not like, oh, let me change the settings on my camera and set up this light and do this other stuff and all this stuff, when now I can just let me flip this switch and now I have a light, which I mean you can't see, but
No, it did. No, I saw something happen with that.
yeah. That
Let
one
it be
came on.
known, something did happen with the Switch.
Something happened.
All right, so let's go to number 5.
Sweet.
Through Being Cool came out in 1999 by the artist Saves the Day. I love that that really is 5 very different things, which is really cool. Not that I don't like it when other people have the same thing, because it's obviously who they are, but just saying that for the record. And the song choice is Last Lie I Told by the band Saves the Day and Brian Newman. We both think that he's on that record. So let's just play that song.
Fucking line by myself. It's 1:45 and
And I like that you chose this record because there's a song by Devo called Through Being Cool, which is one of my favorite bands.
Nice. That 90s A custom ride.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
I love that bass.
I was going to say, that's a crunchy bass tone.
Yeah.
It's like a whole different song. This is cool. Had to get the little hi-hat hit.
Right? Squeeze it in.
Yeah, squeeze it in. That's cool. It's I want to know who I guess I can figure it out in the liners, but whoever engineered that, because he's smashing those cymbals, but it still sounds very pleasing. It's not like, like I think I always go back to that first All Time Low record. I literally can't listen to it because it's just the whole time. He's just washing on the cymbals. It's like, dude, get that record away from me. But yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, no, and hearing it now, also just like you can really appreciate like the production and everything. Like you're saying, like back when you first hear, it's like, oh well, it's a cool song, but now it's like you can appreciate every aspect of it. The recording and the playing, and obviously, yeah. But it's funny that you brought up that you could hear like the influence of that other track, in my playing. Mm-hmm. When I feel like this track like embodies like my playing, at least when I first started my channel, and you can like definitely hear like the direct influence of it. Actually, so I had a friend that was in a band, and he like got in trouble and like couldn't play with them, couldn't play shows. So he was like, "Hey man, can you fill in for me while I like get my shit straight and like show or whatever?" And it was pop punk, which I didn't even like listen to. Like, this is like nerd music. Like, I don't want to play this. But then he's like, "Oh, dude, just listen to Saves the Day and like just play what he does and like you'll be fine." I'm like, all right, whatever. And I hear this album like this is actually like sweet. Like I love this.
You're such a good friend. Like, whatever, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, like when I played in that band, like I like that. It's funny you brought up that hi-hat thing. I was like, oh man, I gotta play like a hi-hat fill now because he did it.
Yeah, just right before the crash, just get it in there.
Yeah.
All right, so I did want to mention you mentioned you have some honorable mentions, and so I definitely wanted to give Aaron Tate some shout outs because he was on the show maybe a month ago. Okay. He was the drummer for Minus the Bear, and the record Planet of Ice. So he talks about when they released that record, they had the whole like laser light show that they had at the Pacific Science Center in Seattle. It's a really cool episode if you guys want to check it out. Aaron's an amazing drummer, but I did want to play some from that record. So was there any song from that record that you kind of wanted to showcase a little bit more than the other ones?
Yeah, I think it's called Nights.
It's funny. This is actually the song that I played as like the intro music to Aaron's episode.
Nice.
Because the drums are so cool right off the bat.
Yeah. That like linear intro thing, so cool. This beat, I love this.
It's usually so typical, a piece of you for a piece of me. It's hard-coded, a piece of you for a piece of me.
Yeah, it's so funny. Aaron, of course, is the worst at taking compliments, but he's such an amazing drummer. It's very influential for sure.
Oh, hell yeah, yeah.
Where were you when you heard this record? Because this is not too far off from, like, it seems like maybe listening to Saves the Day would have then brought you into this band, or maybe my timeline's off.
I could be wrong, but I want to say they had this some like acoustic like Guitar Center session thing, and I like saw that. I was like, oh, this is actually killing. Let me look into these guys, or maybe I just remember that video for some reason. But I found that album, and again, this is like I don't know, mid 2000s, and like hearing that, well, there's like a linear beat in there, like I know what that is. So it was like that was the first time I'd like heard anything like that, like a linear beat like in a musical context that like sounded cool. It wasn't just like, yeah, here's this like linear chop thing. So and again, just like the musicality, and again, like all the stuff that we play today is like very simple and very catchy, I guess you could say, as far as the drumming goes, which I feel like is what I try to do: simple, clean, and catchy. But something about like that song, just like it's still killing. So
Yeah. Well, I want to play one more, and then I'll let you go. But and this is a band that I definitely need to get into. But King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard,
yeah,
and Nanagon Infinity, Nanagon Infinity,
Nonagon Infinity, yeah,
Nonagon Infinity.
yeah.
Gosh, I should probably look these up before I read them out loud.
Yeah, you got Google Translate, so
I guess, yeah. I'll trust you on that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
which song? I hope it's called Mr. Beat.
it's not that one. Invisible Face,
Okay.
and they have two drummers, so
Oh, okay.
listen to the hi-hats.
God, he sings so low. It went into
Extra leeway.
leeway. Yeah. That's actually the next song on the King Gizzard record.
Yeah, right. No, so first of all, that album is like I get a seamless playthrough. Is that what it's called? Where it's just like loops, or not loops, but like each song flows into the next.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like there's like this band, there's so much like lore behind like them, and they do all this like weird shit. And like I want to say Nonagon Infinity, like the album, I forget, I don't know exactly. You have to like, there's so much like stuff like in their whole like little world that like they do. It's like so weird. And they do a lot of like microtonal music and shit. But for me, at least, like that track, like hearing the two drummers and doing like the split rhythm stuff, like yo, this is like so cool. And again, it, like in a way, like kind of ties into like the Steve Reich stuff, where like there's like 6 different people playing different rhythms, but it all like makes this one thing. So whenever there's like 2 drummers doing 2 different things, like I eat that shit up.
All right, well, that was your Big Fat 7, I guess we could say. And of course, I'll link it in the bio, your YouTube. It's just rdavidr.
Yep.
Same with your Instagram is the same thing. I mean, basically, search rdavidr and people can find you.
Yeah, you'll find it somehow.
All right, well, thanks for hanging out and have a good day, man.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
And that's the show. If you're listening on a platform that allows ratings and reviews, do that. It helps more people find the show, so it'll get bigger and better, and hopefully I'll have a chance to sell out one day. But you'll be an OG listener that can brag to all your friends. Anyways, why don't you go and check us out at bigfatsnaredrum.com and follow us on all the socials. Just search for Big Fat Snare Drum and you will find us. The show is edited in part using Isotope RX Audio Editor. It's amazing, so go check that out at isotope.com. And thanks again to Gunnar Olsen for the theme music. Bye!